Moin Leute, Harra wieder am Start. So today we're gonna figure out how to beat Sun. Well, first of all, we need to figure out what makes Sun strong, right? So a typical Sun team would look a little bit something like Groudon, Venusaur, Charizard, probably something like a Grimmsnarl as well, maybe like an Umbreon, maybe Zacian for example. What else could Sun run? I don't know. It's really up to what the Sun player prefers, right? Let's just look at a team like this, right? So what makes it strong, right? First of all, you can make your mons really bulky with Light Screen, with Reflect. You can also get up Chip with Vine Lash or with Wildfire. You get super strong moves with like Life Orb, Solar Power boosted moves like Blast Burn for example. Super strong. You get super good speed control with Fly. No, with Max Airstreams. You also get Sleep Powder, which is really good. I'm gonna talk about that a bit later. Hopefully, I don't forget. You also got a really solid receipt one which matches up really well into what's it called, into Zacian. You got the Venusaur to counter Kyogre teams. You got the Umbreon to counter Calyrex Shadow. You get a really bulky one with like Snarl support, Yawn Disruption, super broke move in Moonlight in my opinion at least. Right. Maybe you even put something like Calyrex Shadow on the team so that way you can go for Will-O-Wisp, live every hit with Focus Sash, right? And then in the late game you can sleep with your super weak Astro Rush because it chipped everything down with your Vine Lash, for example, right? So this right here would make for a super solid Sun team, in my opinion, but obviously I don't want to flash it out because fuck Sun, bro. If you're also feeling similar to me, whereas you think like, dude, fuck Sun, it's so good, it almost destroys me. Well, you might be in the right place because after watching this video, you might be like, also me, but nowadays, I actually think beating Sun is actually quite simple. I don't think I have lost to Sun in a very long time. So, there are probably some players out there which will absolutely eat my ass while using Sun teams, not gonna lie. But obviously, while beating Sun, it's not just about giving you the correct tools in order to beat Sun, which is what I'm gonna talk about today. What I won't talk about today, similar to Zacian and Kyogre. I mean, obviously, I will talk a bit about it because you have to understand how to use the tools correctly if you want to like use them and put them on the team, obviously. But what I didn't or won't go into as much detail in will be the positioning and well, basically you have to be the better player still, right? If you, for example, run into a Sun team, like let's say the opponent is like rank 1 and it's walking out with a Sun team, right? Obviously, you're not gonna like be like, oh yeah, I have all the tools to beat them, it's an insta win. No. Obviously, they will know that you will have the tools to beat them, identify what they are weak to, and how they can still win, even though like these tools are on your team, right? It still comes down to the right matchup and more importantly the outplaying and the big brain stuff that goes on, and probably most important is experience. But yeah, so you're still gonna have to play better, right? So let's actually go into some tools that I use to beat Sun and that you should also use if you don't want to use to Sun team. So in my opinion, by far the best tool is Prankster, or at least one Prankster Pokemon. Why is this? Well, if you look at this Prankster ones, right? Let's look at some Prankster ones that are pretty common, right? What else is there? Oh yeah, Sableye as well. You could probably pretty much use every single Prankster Pokemon ever, and you would have a really good Sun counter. So why is this? Well, first of all, Sun teams typically want to do a lot of damage real quick, right? So you can just set up screens, Light Screen Reflect, right? Also, Sun teams a lot of the time want to go fast. For example, with Venusaur, right? So you just put in Thunder Rays or even like Scary Face, right? This is one way to slow down Sun teams so you don't get rolled over by Sun teams by using something like Grimmsnarl, right? Also, obviously, Sun teams really depend on weather a lot, right? So just give him a little bit of Rain Dance. Also, you can make him pretty much useless, most of the Sun Sweepers, by just using EV Impulse to stop them. For example, G-Max Venusaur after an EV Impulse, let me tell you, that one is gonna be sad as fuck, right? Also, obviously, Thundurus also gets a lot of other moves like like Taunt, for example. Oh yeah, Taunt, also a really solid option because you can taunt opposing Venusaur to stop them from sleep powdering, right? You can also taunt Scourdan to stop it from sword dancing, and you can do stuff like this, right? Whimsicott is super solid in my opinion because you get Tailwind, so you can make it so your Pokemon outspeed even Venusaur in Sun, for example, and you can knock it out with a Dynamax Cannon, for example, or maybe a Max Airstream. Right? Also, Whimsicott obviously also gets taunt. So one thing that's really important about Sun, in my opinion, is Sleep Powder. And why is that? Because Sleep Powder is basically the thing that fixes a lot of bad matchups, right? So if you run into a bad matchup, well, you just sleep powder the Pokemon, right? Imagine Dialga, for example, right? You just sleep powder a Dialga, and then it can do nothing for a lot of turns, so you can just get in your ground and get the kill, right? So similar to this is actually an eject button, right? On Whimsicott, and when Twig eject button, right? I know it's very cheesy, but let's say your opponent goes for Venusaur, right? And you don't have, let's say you don't have taunt for Whimsicott, or you also want to cover for the option of Venusaur G-Maxing, right? You just switch your move it an eject button, and when you hit it with like a quick attack, for example, right? So that way the biggest threat is immediately eliminated, right? So this is basically, Twig eject button is another method to fix bad matchups, right? So this obviously also works in Sun, right? Or against Sun. For example, you get the lead incorrectly. You expected a Venusaur lead, for example, but the opponent leads Groudon. Want to Dynamax and knock out your Eternatus, for example. Well, you can just trigger the eject button and it's not gonna be a threat anymore. So you can already hear my paper where I wrote down all the tools that I had in mind. If you know other tools, definitely let me know. So the next tool actually, oh yeah, also Will-O-Wisp Sableye, right? So you can also shut down Pokemon like Groudon and physical attackers, right? Next tool that you can use to your advantage is, wait, I just had it looked up. Oh yeah, Lumberry. So why Lumberry? Well, like I said, the most important tool Sun has in order to fix bad matchups is actually Sleep Powder, right? But what if you, for example, go for a Landorus and then give it a Lumberry? Well, you can't Sleep Powder it anymore. Venusaur is gonna go down to 1 Max Airstream, and all of a sudden Gordon is gonna look real sad. Charizard is gonna look real sad when it gets knocked out by Max Rockfall. Umbreon is not gonna do much. It may slow you down a bit, but if you get Landorus into the correct position, you can easily beat Umbreons as well. Right? But not only Landorus with Lumberry is obviously good against Sun, right? You can give pretty much everything a Lumberry in order to make it so that you beat Sun, right? Another variation of this would be, for example, Incineroar. Incineroar also a really good option to counter Sun teams because you can give it safety goggles to be immune to a Sleep Powder, go for a Fake Out onto the opposing Prankstermon so you can knock them out. You can also go for Flare Blitz and Sun Booster in Venusaur. Well, I'm doing a bit foreshadowing, right? Because a lot of the things that make Landorus a good Sun counter or Incineroar good Sun counters, they are actually also on the list. But first of all, I just want to focus on the tools that stop Sleep Powder, right? So another great thing with Lumberry, for example, if you go to Salamence, I talked about this in earlier videos, but they never really showed it, I think. I don't know. Yeah, I actually don't know. Maybe I will try to look up a replay. Hopefully it won't mess up the video, but you can give Salamence a Lumberry, and then you can pair it with another Prankster user, for example, like this guy, and then give it Swagger. So you can Swagger your Salamence, give it +2 attack without the confusion happening, right? So then you can go for Max Airstreams, and you can go for example, Fire Fang if you want to. You can go for Max Dragon to lower Gordon's attack. Basically, the only one that you will be able to beat, Salamence is something like a Zacian or maybe Umbreon, for example. But Zacian just dies to Bulldoze, and I think Umbreon dies to plus 2 Max Airstream. So yeah, Salamence is a really good counter to Sun. But before I show you the replay, which I hopefully will find, I don't know if I will find a replay like this, but who knows what. It's actually, the next thing is actually Max Airstream. Why Max Airstream? Well, Max Airstream is a really good form of speed control, as you guys obviously should know if you play the format. Landorus gets it, Salamence gets it as well, and what Max Airstream does is you can one-shot opposing Venusaur as long as it doesn't have a Cobra Berry, right? And then be faster than the opponents, and being faster in a game like Pokemon is really important, because basically you got control over what's going to happen, right? So if you go for a Max Airstream with, for example, Yveltal, another really good Sun counter, right, with Oblivion Ring, right? what's the opponent gonna do? Charizard isn't gonna do a lot of damage because you have an Assault Vest, right? Venusaur isn't gonna do much damage because obviously it with the biggest step move gets resisted. Gordon is not gonna do much damage because he has to go for Rock Slide, you know. But maybe you pair this guy up with Sableye, right? You can taunt the Venusaur or even fake out the Venusaur so that way he never gets up Sleep Powder. You can Will-O-Wisp the Groudon, right? What's Sun doing into Yveltal, right? And even ones like Umbreon can't really slow it down because you can just Oblivion Ring to get so much health back. And also, what's also really solid, you can also give it Snarl in order to even further slow down opposing special attacker, right? Or physical attackers, right? Another really good one with Vex Airstream is obviously Thundurus. The only issue with Thundurus is that you actually lose to Groudon. But this is when you can run a mixed set, like for example Grass Knot or Weather Ball Groudon. You can also give your support Thundurus Weather Ball as well. So that way you can one-shot opposing Venusaur even with Cobra Berry, right? And imagine you pair this guy with a Chick Whimsicott, for example, which can also go for Tailwind, so that way, or Taunt, right? Well, you're very likely to get top 10 on the ladder on Showdown. No, obviously it takes more than this, but this is why Vex Airstream is really, really solid, right? Best move in the game by far. So next up, Dragon types. Why Dragon types? Well, what do a lot of good Sun counters have in common? Sun counters like Dialga, Sun counters like Salamence, Sun counters like Dragonite, Sun counters like Hydreigon, Sun counters like whatever good Dragon type Sun counters are there. Well, obviously I already spoiled it, but obviously you should already know. Oh yeah, Kyurem White, a really big example. What else is there? Oh yeah, Rayquaza, another really good example, right? You can, they are all Dragon type, obviously, right? And why is Dragon type so good? Well, let me tell you. First of all, you get a big max Whirlwind, right? With, for example, Draco Meteor. So that way you can lower Groudon's attack, right? So Groudon is the only Pokemon on Sun teams that can typically handle Dragon types, right? So if you make it so Groudon doesn't do a lot of damage because, for example, you are a Flying type, you have Levitate, or you know, because you are already Dynamax and like +5 special physical defense with 2 Intimidates on Groudon, it's not gonna have a good time, right? Also Pokemon like Venusaur and Charizard, where stab moves all get resisted by the Dragon type, so if they want to get up the chip that they need, well, they're not gonna have a good time, because, well, you're just gonna resist them, right? So you're gonna outdamage them by far, right? Also, if you run ones like Hydreigon, the opposing card like Shadow is not gonna be a big issue at all. Kyurem just completely rolls over Sun because there's simply no resistances, and with a Life Orb, a Helping Hand boosted, max whatever, is just gonna blow pretty much everything back, right? Also get access to moves like Fusion Fair, which are also good, which I'm gonna go over later. Rayquaza is also really solid because you can just turn off the opposing weather. So yeah, you can just basically make it so the advantages that Sun give the opponent just completely make him useless, right? So your Venusaur won't be as fast, your Charizard won't be as strong, your Moonlight won't really heal as much, right? So you can really get a lot of value out of running something like Rayquaza. Next up on the list, oh wait, that's the wrong side, let's see. Next up, Lumberry, Prankster. Oh yeah, next up we have another good type that is good into Sun, is Fire type. This is obviously way more shaky. Why is it way more shaky? Well, because Sun Pokemon always have something installed for Fire types, right? Or Sun teams. For example, they're gonna have a Groudon a lot of the time, right? They're gonna have, they're not gonna have, for example, what's it called? Earth Power and Venusaur, for example, right? But what a lot of Fire Pokemon do is, and actually let's get into the fan favorite Torkoal as well, they actually take advantage of the opposing Sun, right? So, what does this mean? Well, let's say the opponent leads Groudon, Charizard, right? And you somehow manage to get out Trick Room. Well, Torkoal is just gonna do so. No, not that's actually a bad example, but actually, no, it's a kind of good example. It's a good example because you can do so much damage with your let's say your choice backs eruption, right? You just need to get a little bit of chip, right? For example, glacial lands into eruption is just gonna kill everything on the opponent's team, right? Or let's say you use Incineroar, sun boosted flare blitz is gonna knock out Venusaur. Let's say you use Rotom, you're gonna have so much immediate damage output from your max flare. You can even beat Pokemon like Groudon, which normally beat you, right? You can also, like Rotom is such a good sun counter. Like people always say Rotom isn't a good sun counter, but that's just not true. I said it in so many of my videos, but Groudon, Venusaur, Charizard, the three best sun Pokemon, they all lose hard to Rotom. So what does Rotom sun use to beat Pokemon right like Rotom? Landorus. But Landorus in the sun is gonna take so much from Max Flare, right? If you get a Reflect, Landorus is gonna be useless. If you Intimidate the Landorus, it's gonna be useless, right? If you burn it with your own Rotom as well, right? It's gonna be useless, right? So there's a lot of things you can do. Most importantly, you take advantage of the opposing sun, right? Also, Blaziken is really good, obviously, because it gets overheat, so you can do a shit ton of damage, right? For example, if you stop Trick Room and the opponent has Sun Room, you can just go for overheat, one-shot with Calyrex, GG. Right? Also, it gets Brick Break to break opposing screens from Grimmsnarl, right? And also, you can go for coaching to make it so your Pokemon like Thundurus have a way better shot at beating the opponent's Groudon, right? So Blaziken, really solid Sun counter. If you don't believe me, watch my video where I got top 10 with Blaziken, or any of my videos where I use Blaziken, because Blaziken is absolutely busted, if you ask me. Right, so next up, oh yeah, I forgot this one actually. It is Rain. But Rain is probably the best Sun counter ever. So Kyogre obviously, let's put Kingdra as well. Let's put Pelipper for example. And also let's put Tornadus, really important. So why Rain? Well, all of these Pokemon on a Sun team typically lose to Kyogre. Obviously, there's a lot of the time gonna be something like a Venusaur, right? But if we eliminate the Venusaur, let's make an easy example, right? You can easily do it with Tornadus. You can a lot of the time sweep the game with Kyogre, right? Just 1 or 2 Water Sport with Kyogre being in the correct position is gonna win you the Sun battle easily, right? Obviously, this also goes for other weather teams. You can, for example, use Tyranitar to get up the sand, which I would not recommend, but you can do it, right? So you can switch in, for example, Tyranitar, knock out Venusaur, for example, and then go from there, right? You can use stuff like this, but Rain is the most important one, because if you get a Pokemon like Kyogre in the correct position, you can one-shot everything with Rain boosted 150 base power, Water Sport, which hits both Pokemon on the field, right? You can easily see this if you go to my video a few days ago, where I used Sashi and Olga, right? And this is actually a bit of, here, I used the entire team, right? You can see how effective this can go, right? Obviously, like I said, it's more about positioning, right? So let's actually get to the last point that you can use to deal with Sun before we go to the most important thing. You can also use Pokemon like Zacian and Urshifu, and I think these Pokemon are the most important Pokemon. Obviously, you don't have to use the Zacian, obviously you don't have to use the Urshifu, but these Pokemon are very good in their own right, and with the right support they can pretty much deal with every team, right? But what I think is most important about these Pokemon is that they beat the Pokemon that normally beat the Pokemon that beat Sun teams. And you might think like, bro, what the fuck is he talking about? I don't understand. But obviously, if you have battled against Sun teams, and you didn't play very well, which happens to a lot of us, right? You will see that your Kyogre actually didn't beat the Sun team, because, for example, the opponents switched in, had Groudon as the last Pokemon switched in, and treated it correctly, right? So you can, so that they got up the Sun, which means they still won the game, right? Let's say you used a Dragon type like Hydreigon, but it just got one shot by Calyrex by Zacian, right? Let's say you use a Pokemon like a Prankster Pokemon, but it just gets hit by Fake Out, so you can't do anything, right? These Pokemon obviously are not gonna win you the game on their own, but these are just some examples for things you can do to counter Pokemon that normally counter Sun counters, right? So let's say, for example, you give this guy a Choice Band and then Close Combat. Umbreon is gonna get one shot by this bad boy. Same with Play Rough Zacian, right? Let's say your opponent switches out Groudon, right? You just go for a fucking Behemoth Blade into whatever comes in and get a kill, unless it's gonna be Incineroar, right? But oh wait, Incineroar, it gets one shot by Close Combat, right? And Cinema, another really good one, right? Oh yeah, Venusaur is just gonna one-shot all your team. Oh yeah, you're just switching Kyogre, knock out the Venusaur with Behemoth Blade, right? As easy as that, right? So you can really go crazy with Pokemon like these and beat the stuff that normally beats Sun, right? Another example is Blaziken, for example, because like I said, Blaziken with Big Break coaching can make it so Grimmsnarl is really, really sad, for example, right? And Overheat as well, really a solid option, you know. Also, another actually one that I just thought about is Indeedee. I use a lot of Indeedee plus Choice Base Calyrex, for example, right? And if you just redirect the moves of the Sun teams, you can just win the game immediately because you can just snowball, because it doesn't matter how fast they are if you're just gonna get their moves redirected, right? It doesn't matter how bulky they are if you just are like just one-shotting everything, right? But obviously this doesn't work if the opponent has an Umbreon, but wait, this is where Urshifu comes in, right? So this is another thing that you can do, is just overpower the opposing Sun teams and make it so the Sun doesn't matter, right? But what I think is the most important thing is to combine all of those, right? Obviously this is very difficult, and like I said, it's not you cannot just beat Sun by having these tools on your team, right? It's gonna be about the correct tools and using them correctly, right? You cannot have every single tool in the world to beat Sun teams, right? So even in the team building process, right, you might lose the battle, right? Because you don't give yourself the right tools, right? The opposing Sun team might have all the tools in order to beat you, and you might not have all the tools to beat them, right? So you have to be smart. And what I think is the most problematic, if you build a Sun counter team, you're gonna be smashed by Rain teams, for example, right? Which makes team building really difficult. For example, what I like to do in order to counter Sun is use something like Solgaleo, for example, right? Because obviously with Psychic Fangs you can kill opposing Venusaurs, you can get through screens, right? But if Gordon gets off his Swords and you can't do anything about it, right, it just beats you, right? So one thing that you might want to run is, for example, Rillaboom next to it, right? So you can Grassy Glide the opposing Kyogres and beat them, right? Maybe Regieleki next to it as well, right? So, or maybe even Kyogre next to it, so you can beat the Groudon, right? So like I said, it's still up to chance, not up to chance, up to who is the best team builder and the best player. But yeah, like I said, if you wanna get the advantage, use my strategies. I have been extremely successful with them. Like I said, I can't remember the last time that Sun actually beat me. I don't think Sun is not this bad, but Sun is extremely easy to beat if you do it correctly. Hope you guys learned some things. If you have any questions or concerns, let me know. Okay guys, I actually did it. I found the infamous replay I always talk about when I talk about beating Sun. So first of all, when we look at my team, right, I got Max Airstream, I got a Dragon type, I got Solgaleo, I got a Prankster Pokemon, I got Kyogre, I even got Pokemon like Mamoswine and Teleki, right? So pretty much everything is checkmarked. Pretty much, alright? So I'll deal with Salamence and Tornadus. As the opponent leads Charizard and Groudon. So what I do is, let's see, I go for Tailwind, okay, I actually don't remember the replay. Oh, and Dragon's Rockfall, right? So I can easily knock out for Charizard turn 1, right? As he Rock Slides, misses my Taunt, I would have easily survived this because I am bulky Tornadus, right? Out comes Zacian. Oh, it's actually really interesting. I think I just go for... Oh yeah, I have Tailwind up, I forgot. So now I can just one-shot with Zacian without risking taking a lot of damage from Groudon, right? And then next turn I can just go for MX Airstream and kill the Venusaur. Or, yeah, and Groudon is not gonna do anything because he's already intimidated by my Salamence, right? So looks like this is exactly what happens. No, he makes guards. I Hurricane the Groudon. Let's see, did I double the Groudon? Oh no, I didn't. Like I said, I have no real reason to double the Groudon because I'm just gonna survive anyways. And now the opponent is just gonna run away, I think. No, not yet, not yet. So now I just go for my +2 Breaking Swipe, and I think I go for Icicle Spear. Oh yeah, this should kill the Venusaur, or put it in range of Sand. Yeah, let's put it in range of Sand, easy. So he's just gonna get both knockouts right here, but afterwards the game will be over, pretty much because Salamence completely swept him, right? Obviously I could have played the max guard, but like I said, I was already so far ahead, the opponent couldn't do anything. So yeah, now Kyogre is just gonna finish the game right here. I think I was actually really fast Kyogre, so even Venusaur living would not have changed a lot, right? So as you can see, beating Sun is actually really easy. This is the replay I wanted to show you. Even one or two like tools, in this case Salamence plus the Prankster Lumberry. Actually no, those are already like 5 tools combined in one, right? we have Max Airstream, we have a Lumberry, we got the Dragon type, we got Prankster. Yeah, and Max Airstream. Did I say? I guess. Okay, 4 tools at minimum, right? In just 2 Pokemon, so you can easily smash Sun just like I did. This is not only one game. Let me tell you, I did this quite a lot, guys. So yeah, this is why beating Sun is actually really easy. So I think now I wanna look up some replays in my own videos where I beat Sun, and we can see how I did it right there. Alrighty, so now I'm in my video from oh wait, this is the wrong video. Wait, here. This must be it. Let's turn down this and let's go to the Sun team. Where is it? Is this the Sun team? I think this isn't the Sun team, is it? Oh no, this is actually the Sun team. So yeah, look at what happened here, right? So I just Dynamax my Landorus, right, and go for Grimmsnarl support, so that way he cannot do a lot to my Landorus, because with light screen up, Yveltal cannot touch my Landorus at all. And if I just kill the Venusaur, I pretty much win the game instantly, because like what's he gonna do, right? What you gonna do? What you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? And also, as you can see, Landorus beats a lot of mons that also are on Sun teams that typically beat Sun counters, right? Oh yeah, here you can see so many things, like the Lumberry, for example, right? Really come and clutch right here. The opponent just forfeits turn 1, easy smash. Alrighty, I think I had one where I switched in Kyogre as well. So Zacian would also be able to, sorry, Landorus would also be able to beat the Lucky, which is typically supposed to beat Kyogre, which also is on this team, right? So imagine I didn't have the Landorus, this game would have been way more difficult. So let's just beat this guy. Oh no, isn't this? Oh no. Let's not go to the game where I get quit. Oh no, this is the game where I got quit, I think. Oh yeah, this right here. Oh, perfect timing. Oh, so, I lead Zacian, right? And I got it in the correct position. Now all I need to do is actually predict the opponent to switch in their Groudon. So that way I can just kill the Venusaur off, right? Which is exactly what I'm doing right here. And also luckily I knew that his Incineroar was faster for my Grimmsnarl, which means I get the weather control right here. I can knock out the Venusaur, which is the biggest threat to my Kyogre. And now I can pretty much win the game without a spot, right? So this really goes to show how not only having the correct tools is really important, but also getting in the correct position, right? I literally said jokingly, what's he gonna do? Go out into Incineroar? And like I realized a second after that, yeah, he is gonna have to do it, right? Let's see if I... As you would expect from me, obviously. Yeah. So yeah, Venusaur is gone. Now I got him hella pinned, right? Yup. Because what's he gonna do? Go Incineroar? Yeah, you know what I mean, right? So now I can either substitute or switch in Grimmsnarl. Yeah, so you can see, even though I'm not at all familiar with using this kind of team, right? Like, I never used Zacian and Kyogre. No, actually, did I use Zacian and Kyogre before? I can't remember. Anyways, yeah, this team is just super good, obviously. And it has so many tools to beat with, to deal with Sun, right? If you use them correctly, you can easily smash your opponents, just as I always do, right? So, yeah, I really hope you enjoyed. Haut rein. Ciao.